All right, lesson 5-8, solving equations by multiplying fractions. So this lesson is very similar to 5-7 because we're solving equations. Oops, sorry, I was supposed to highlight that. However, this time we are going to multiply or divide to solve the equations. And why it doesn't say divide on here, I will tell you in 1 second. All right, real quick review. When we have a normal equation with integers, we want to get a by itself. I see it attached to this 4 here with the operation of multiplication. So to undo multiplication, I'm going to divide by 4. And when I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other. So the 4's cancel because multiplying and dividing by 4 cancels it out. I have just my a. 12 divided by 4 is 3. A is by itself. I have solved that equation. So we're going to do the same thing, except we have equations now involving fractions. So this first example says multiplying by a reciprocal. We need to know what a reciprocal is. If you've heard of the term before, if I use the number 3, 3's reciprocal is, you can picture a whole number over 1. A reciprocal of 3 over 1 is 1 over 3. Notice I just flipped the numerator and denominator. Let's do one more example. What if I had negative 2/5? Its reciprocal is negative 5 over 2. So the negative stays with the fraction. We just switch the numerator and the denominator. All right, so remembering this, let's look at this problem. Solving 5 times a, that's what's going on when the letter and number is right next to each other, equals 1/7. To get rid of this 5, I'm going to divide by 5. And when I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other. My 5's cancel, I'm left with a. Here's where this reciprocal comes in, and it's something new for dividing fractions we haven't talked about yet. When you have a fraction like 1/7 and you're dividing by 5, what you can do is 1/7 times its reciprocal, which is the numerator and the denominator flipped. So 5 over 1, its reciprocal is 1 over 5. So I'm going to, instead of dividing, I'm going to multiply by this reciprocal. Now, a equals, I do a cross multiplication. 1 times 1 is 1. 7 times 5 is 35, and I have my answer. Let's do one more of those. 2y equals 7 over 9. To get rid of the 2 that's attached to the y, I'm going to divide by 2. Divide by 2. So my 2's cancel, I have y. When I'm dealing with fractions and division, it's easier and recommended to instead not divide but multiply the reciprocal 1 over 2. Y is going to equal 7 times 1 over 9 times 2. Final answer, simplified. All right, example 2, simplifying before we multiply. Remember, we can look for common factors in cross products before we carry out the multiplication. Let's look at this one. I'm going to write it again. I like to see it bigger. 4/5 times m equals 9/10. I want to get rid of this 4/5 that's attached to the m, so I'm going to divide by 4/5, and I'm going to divide by 4/5. Doing this cancels my 4/5 over here. I have just my m left, and when I divide by a fraction, think of it as multiplying by its reciprocal. Now, here's where they're talking about that simplifying. I can simplify cross products before I multiply. Looking at 5 and 10, they each have a factor of 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. New multiplication problem. Use green. 9 times 1 is 9. 2 times 4 is 8. M equals 9/8. So I multiplied a reciprocal and I cross-simplified to get my answer. One more example in this, just like this. 5/4 equals 5/4 times d. Well, I want d by itself. So I'm going to divide by 5/4, divide by 5/4. Now notice I wrote this one with a division sign and this one with a fraction bar. Same thing. This side cancels. I have just d. Over here I have 5/4. Since I'm dividing by a fraction, I'm going to multiply by its reciprocal. 5, and let's see, I can cancel out cross products. 4s become 1s. My 5s become 1s. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. D, my friends, equals 1. All right, example 3, multiplying by the negative reciprocal. So we're still using a reciprocal, but this time there's a negative attached. So negative 14 over 25k, so that's being multiplied because they're next to each other, equals 8 over 15. I want k by itself, so I'm going to, on this side, divide by negative 14 over 25, divide by negative 14 over 25. Alrighty, this cancels. I have just my k. Over here, I'm dividing by a fraction, so I'm going to instead multiply by a reciprocal of this fraction. Now don't forget the negative stays with it. Negative 25 over 14. If you wrote this like positive 25 over negative 14, that's the same thing. That negative can be on top or bottom. All right, before I multiply, I'm going to check for cross products that I could simplify. Oh, 15 divided by 5 is 3. Negative 25 divided by 5 is negative 5. So 8 times negative 5 is negative 40. 3 times 14, I have to do that math really quick. 4 times 3 is 12. 42. This can simplify. Negative 20 over 21 equals my variable, k. All right, one more example. We'll do a here. Negative 6/7 times r equals 3/4. I want to get r by itself, so I'm dividing by 6/7. Oops, don't forget the negative. Dividing by negative 6/7. This cancels. R is by itself. 3/4 times by the negative reciprocal. Don't forget the negative and switch the numerator and denominator. I have a cross product I can simplify. My r is going to equal negative 7 over 8. All right, last example, solving an equation with a mixed number. Your teacher needs a shelf to hold a set of textbooks. Each book is 1 5/8 inches wide. How many books will fit on a 26-inch long shelf? So looking at our words here, the width of each book is 1 5/8. We're going to multiply that by the number of books we can have. To see the width of our bookshelf is 26. So we're solving for n. We want to know how many books. Basically, I'm going to quickly divide by 1 5/8 to both sides so that I can get n by itself. I'm going to make this page bigger. So I have n by itself. I have 26 divided by 1 5/8. First, let's find out what this improper fraction is. 8 times 1 is 8. Plus 5 is 13 over 8. I'm going to look at 26 as a fraction over 1. I'm going to multiply the reciprocal. I can simplify. 13 divided by 13 is 1. 26 divided by 13 is 2. 2 times 8 is 16. 1 times 1 is 1. My answer for number of books is 16. All right, at this time, please pause the video, copy the following 3 problems down, bring them to class complete, and watch this lesson over again if parts were unclear. Good luck.